comps that have done well. How do you get a sense of if they've done too well?
I would go for BookScan. I know it costs money, but I think if you're trying to find comps when you're querying, or like if you've got comps in your mind when you're querying, paying for just like a month of BookScan is worth it because I have a lot of people who love to comp Rachel Gillig and One Dark Window, and we love Rachel Gillig. She's a fixture at Highline here, but One Dark Window has sold 1 million copies. And so if you're comping this book and it's been 2 years, like it's within that 5 year range that we love for comp titles, but it's done so astronomically well that when publishers see that, they're like, oh, well, if your book doesn't perform like this and we paid you all this money for it, that could be the end of your writing career. And that's not what we want. We want longevity for our authors. So, like, being very mindful of your comp titles, not just in theme, but in like how they've performed is going to be super duper helpful. So like Rachel is also one of my author's critique partners. So when she was like, hey, this book's like this, I was like, can she write a blurb for this before I send it out? Because otherwise I'm not putting her name on this. Thank you. And I did it help her book sell? I don't know, but it helped because the editors who were reading it were like, oh, she very clearly knows what this is. So we can utilize that. And like not everybody has access to authors of that caliber, but just kind of having an idea of how books have performed and how you want your own book to perform. If you're going to use those bigger named comp titles, put them secondary to something that's a little lesser known so that you have like that mid range for agents and editors.
If you were going to go by reviews, how would you say approximately is too many for a book to like let's say someone can't afford BookScan, they're looking at number of reviews. I want to say in my head like more than 1,000 reviews, it's don't doing too well.
I would say more than 1,000 reviews because I mean books reviews don't help sell books as much as we would love to think that they do. But when you're looking at the reviews and you're like, oh, well, they're saying that there's this in the story and I don't really have that in my story, it's like, are you going to nitpick and change bits of your story to match the reviews and kind of make your story better? It's kind of like writing to the market. You don't want to do that. You want to make sure your story is as true to what you set out to tell as possible. So when you're looking at how many reviews, I would say more than 1,000 is like overkill. Like you don't need a ton. Um, Even somewhere in the 100 range where you can kind of see like there are people who are giving it 2-star reviews, 5-star reviews, etc. And everybody's everyone's opinion on the story is different. So those reviews, take them all with a grain of salt.
Thank you. Yeah, I think it's really nice because people hear all the time, don't use a book that's too big. What is too big? We don't know.
A
So
million copies is too big.
do you have a number of copies in mind that is like the ideal for a comp? I realize I'm asking impossible questions.
No, actually, because I look at a lot of the books that I haven't worked on, but my boss has worked on. So like A.B. Paranek's Where the Dark Stands Still, I think that did about 2 or 3 thousand copies in its first week, which was really good. It was a New York Times bestseller for 6 weeks. So like that's a great one to start with. We have titles like Immortal Dark or Phantasma coming out of Little Brown, and those books have done in the 50,000s in sales in the last 6 months that they've been out, which is not everyone's experience. So again, kind of looking moderately and thinking, okay, 2 to 3 thousand copies is a really good number, and kind of grow from there. It's like V.E. Schwab says, you start at a teacup and then you build to a raft. It's the same with the reviews. Like you start with a little teacup, you start with a couple little ones, and then you build out from there.